Am I the asshole for telling my brother and SIL to find alternate childcare? My 41F brother, 39M, and SIL have two kids, 7Y0 and 5Y0, while my husband and I are childfree by choice. I have no issues with kids, I just didn't want my own, and my husband and I enjoy a life where we are the fun aunt and uncle rather than parents. My husband and I have zero issue with taking my niece and nephew for a night or two to give my brother and SIL a break, but we enjoy our peace and quiet, so we try not to do this all the time. My brother has had cutbacks at his company, so my SIL started working part-time to help with some of the bills. My niece and nephew are going to school online for obvious reasons, so they need help with childcare. My brother asked if we would be willing to watch them during the day since my husband and I both work from home, and we agreed with the promise that it would be temporary until they could find other childcare arrangements. That was 4 months ago. I have a massive trial coming up and have been working between 70-80 hours per week to prepare. I spoke with my brother and SIL multiple times and informed them that I cannot continue overseeing my niece and nephew's schooling and working, and they really need to find someone else to watch them because it is just too much for me to handle at the moment. It came to a head yesterday when I had an important client meeting and my niece and nephew started arguing over a TV remote. My husband was on a work call and could not take care of it, so I had to get up in the middle of a meeting to handle it. When my SIL came to pick them up, I informed her that they have 2 weeks to find childcare because I cannot watch them anymore. I told her that it was affecting my job performance and it was not fair of them to put me in this position. My SIL called me selfish and said that I was uncaring. My brother called me and told me that I have no compassion for what they are going through, and that he needs my help. I told him that if it was financial, I am more than willing to chip in for a nanny or au pair to watch them during the day for their schooling, but that just made him angrier. He accused me of flaunting my wealth. Now my SIL put in her 2 weeks notice at her job and my brother is blaming me and saying it's my fault if they end up homeless. Am I the asshole for telling them they need to find new childcare? Not the asshole, you are under no obligation to care for their child given how busy you are, and they are so rude that even when offered to pay for a nanny that was flaunting you wealth. Edit, tism for the silvers. Edit 2, thank you kind stranger for the gold. Not the asshole. Your brother and sister-in-law however are They sound like a bunch of freeloaders. And SIL quit her work instead of finding someone else? Over dramatic. Feel sorry for the kids. Not the asshole. Them telling you are selfish for not taking care of their children is laughable, and their projection of their issues on other things should not be your concern. Your own well-being and future are top priority, and I'd say, stick with your decision, you did the right thing. Props for giving them a 2 weeks notice for that matter. You obliged temporarily. They agreed 4 months ago to find a more permanent solution. You also gave them 2 weeks to find something else. You didn't just drop it on them today that from tomorrow you can't look after the kids. You also offered to help with any costs. They took advantage of you and husband. Sounds like they're under serious pressure financially, but that doesn't mean they have to take it out on you, when all you did was help them. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. B and SIL. We need help with childcare. You. I can't watch them myself, but I can pay for childcare. B and SIL. Now SIL has to quit her job and we will be homeless. You, B and SIL. You're flaunting your wealth. It's easy for you to pay and difficult for you to do it yourself, and we only want you to be uncomfortable because NTA. You are being very nice about this whole thing. You gave 2 weeks and offered to pay for suitable childcare. It's not your fault they aren't happy with your solutions. The olive branch can only extend so far until it breaks. Not the asshole. So let me get this straight. You tried telling them beforehand they needed new childcare, they ignored you. It got so bad it affected your income and job and they ignored you. And you even offered to help pay for childcare and they proceeded to flip their shit? Totally. Not the asshole. You aren't flaunting shit. You've a giant case coming up and you can't keep 2 kids when doing so. That's a recipe for disaster. They need to cool their asses off and think logically. There's some WFH options I'm sure your SIL could find. There's also some stuff you can earn money doing online that's legit. Audio to text transcribing and stuff like that. It's not your fault, you need to focus on your own job or you'd be homeless. Not the asshole. You've been incredibly generous with your time in helping your family. Now this doesn't work anymore. You offered to help fund a different solution, but your brother is too proud to accept it. You are blameless, and your brother and SIL are ungrateful Oz. Not the asshole. You've been very generous and already saved them thousands of dollars in childcare costs over the past 4 months. You gave it a good faith effort, but you absolutely shouldn't have to jeopardize your livelihood for them. And their response to your offer to contribute to a caregiver was really rude. Not the asshole. The key statement of yours is child-free by choice. That means if you watch someone's kids, you get to set the parameters of said watching. The fact that you plus your hubs were on work calls when the kids acted up is more than enough reason to stop this watching right now. PS 4 months is not temporary. That's going on long term. If any of their relatives call you selfish, tell them to watch the kids. Not the asshole. Your brother was too complacent with the free childcare he had found you. Not the asshole. When your brother and SIL asked you to care for their children, they promised you that it would be temporarily. 4 months is a long time to look for childcare. You are not their free childcare service and they have to accept that. Offering help to pay for a nanny or an au pair was a nice gesture and has nothing to do with flaunting your wealth. Not the asshole. They're clearly the selfish ones and seemingly are jealous that you're in better financial standing than they are. Their children and their choices are their responsibility. If brother is cut back hours at his job, why can't he find a second job if he needs his wife to stay at home with the kids? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm also a bit confused here. Your SIL works part-time, and your brother's job was cut back, so why exactly did they need full-time childcare? Unless I read that incorrectly, they'd only need a couple of days a week or a couple of hours a day. They're taking advantage of your kindness, and it's time for them to stop. Not the asshole. Would they expect you to bring the children to trial with you? No. The problem is working at home is working. Yet, people think because you're at home you can drop what you're doing because it's not actual work if it's at home. They are just mad because they've gotten so used to entitled behavior they can't fathom not being able to be entitled anymore. Not the asshole. People with kids ACT like their family members need to take on their kids as well, and it's significant other annoying. This coming from an aunt and soon-to-be mom. Not the asshole. To be honest, I for sure wouldn't even give them money after treating you like that. Nobody forced them to have kids. And it's definitely not your fault if they end up homeless. Way to be dramatic. Can't believe we're talking about adults here. Not the asshole. And #X200B. I get really annoyed with friends or family who would be happy to accept my help in time to assist them, but are too proud to accept money or me paying for someone else to provide a service. And #X200B. Yes, I could spend 2 hours to come pick you up from the airport, but I'd rather just pay £50 for a taxi since I price my time to clients at £150 per hour. Paying for the taxi is far cheaper. I help someone out and everyone should be happy. Don't get me wrong, if there is a social aspect or we can use the trip for something, then I will reassess, but if the only consideration is friend has need X, I can help them meet that need with Y number of hours or Z cost in cash, then I will be working that out based on what I value my time at. Not the asshole. You gave them ample notice and they chose to ignore you and not make alternative arrangements. That's on them. Not the asshole. It seems like they've been making use of your kindness. It isn't selfish to try and make sure that you are in a position to help, and if it were for a short period only, then maybe you are the asshole. But if it's been happening for 4 months, then defo not the asshole. It's a problem that they've been postponing from actually tackling it because of you stepping in to solve it magically for them. Looks like the parents forgot they are parents. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You can refuse doing childcare for any reason or no reason at all. You were very reasonable giving them 2 weeks' notice. Your brother and SIL are entitled and ungrateful for the generous favor you did for them. Not the asshole. Your brother is obnoxious. You gave them 4 months of free childcare to help them out, and despite they've said it's temporary, they not only don't appreciate the help you've given them, but are blaming you for not wanting to do it anymore. So it's okay if your job was affected and potentially you could end up sacked as long as you take care of their children? They should really check themselves. Not the asshole. He's using some A-level manipulation tactics. You are not the parents, you have no obligations to parent. He's just mad his free daycare is over and he doesn't want to, do what a parent needs to do. Not the asshole. And as a side sympathy note, my sister recently had a baby and then got made redundant. She resents that my partner and I, child-free by choice like you, both bought new smartphones, suggesting if we hadn't bought them we could afford a kid. Which is insanity. Why do people have children? In many postings many parents seem to be complaining about their children. It's worse since the pandemic. Many parents were removed from their children with daycare, nannies, sitters, and relatives looking after them. I guess they are getting a dose of full-time parenting and cannot handle it. Just an observation. So they basically had no plans to find other childcare and just wanted to string you along as long as they could. Definitely not the asshole. If she is working part-time, why do you have the kids full-time? And why can't she get a part-time job in the evenings or weekend? Most part-time jobs are minimum wage. I honestly think they were taking advantage of you. If your brother picked up a part-time job to supplement his lost income and his wife got a job at McDonald's for evening and weekends, they would have been fine. I think you were the easiest solution, no matter how negatively it impacted you and your husband's work. After sacrificing for 4 months they are not in a position to get angry with you, they should be grateful. That is a lot of work. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but I find it rich that they are willing to let your job suffer for their kids. Info: if your brother had cutbacks at his company, why isn't he watching his kids? Further info: if both you and your husband were on important work calls, why were you the one who had to deal with the kids? Even more info: do any of the men in your family do any childcare? Not the asshole. You agreed to temporary childcare. Your brother and SIL have had 4 months to figure this out and they didn't bother because they thought they had you trapped. You don't have time for it anymore but still gave them 2 weeks to find an alternative. You even offered to help pay for a nanny or au pair after they called you names. You have been remarkably patient and helpful. They are selfish ingrates. Not the asshole. This is one of those things that comes with parenting and it's their job to handle it. You told them this arrangement was temporary, then gave them a long time before giving a set deadline. 2 weeks is plenty for them to arrange something else and you were even generous enough to help them afford their childcare. They're just feeling entitled to your time and labor, which is a them problem. Not the asshole. I can't imagine the degree of entitlement that would lead a parent to insist someone else had to watch their child 5 days a week for free without interruption. Parents need to stop with this shit. Their kids are their responsibility and no one else is obligated to provide childcare. You've done more than enough for them and have nothing to feel guilty for. Not the asshole. I hate people who choose to have kids then try to blame others for their inability to care for them. Expecting someone to be the babysitter because you decided to have kids is selfish, just wow. They obviously had no plan to ever look for childcare. They took advantage of you for 4 months. You did your share of helping out, so whenever they accuse you of not caring, remind them of the value of 4 months of free childcare. Just tell them that if these were your own children they would be in childcare due to your work demands. And if you don't have the ability to stay home with your own kids, you don't have that ability to do so for other people's kids either. And it benefits no one to have all of you out of work. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. My brother called me and told me that I have no compassion for what they are going through. He has no compassion for what you are going through. Not the asshole. Watching them for this long was extremely generous and offering to pay for childcare is also extremely generous. Why wouldn't they take you up on that? A nanny, babysitter that is devoted only to the kids and not trying to work would be preferable, in my opinion. Also, if your brother had cutbacks at his office, why doesn't he have more time to watch the kids? Not the asshole. Was your brother fired in the cutbacks? Or was that my misunderstanding? Not the asshole. Not your pig. Not your farm. Don't you just love when you help somebody out for months and all they see is the one moment you actually look out for yourself as being selfish? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If they don't want to take your financial help for childcare, then it's truly just your brother's fault if they end up homeless. NTA, you gave them plenty of time to begin with. They made the choice not to do anything about it. NTA. Not the asshole. It is their children, their responsibility, and you have done more than you needed to do. You even gave them a 2 weeks notice. If it were me, it would have been the last day. Good luck tomorrow. Bye. NTA. NTA, but they sure are. 4 months is long enough to find childcare. Also, SIL could work a different shift than your brother so that way someone is always with the kids, or brother could find another job. Not the asshole. After that response, I'd revoke the 2-week notice and say under no circumstances will I be responsible for the kids of someone that thinks I'm selfish.